Hello. Hey, Mark. How are you?
Hello. Hello, guys.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Great.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
our pleasure, and thank you for getting the invite and getting with us in this live show, sharing your thoughts and your experience in the area of sustainability, especially with AI. That's the main topic now around all the world.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, and then this intersection, it might seem like a hot topic. Of course, sustainability is big. Now in the news, there's a little bit of a vibe shift, but definitely a lot of people are looking at it. AI, of course, is still the name of the game. The name of the game. It just changes every year if it's agentic AI or if it's generative AI. But
Yeah,
there's always some AI to it. I'm sure that's going to continue for the next couple of years. But the
yeah,
intersection, there's very few people actually looking at that. And I'm so happy that you guys have identified it, and we can have a great conversation about it today.
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
That's great. Let me just give our audience a very little and small introduction about you. Then definitely would love to know more about your knowledge and experience and start our conversation. Thank you, Mark, for, as I said, accepting our invite, joining us. I would like to let our audience know more about you. Mark is a pioneer AI research and sustainability advocate with the mission of harnessing the power of artificial intelligence in addressing global environmental challenges. And Mark is between the Stanford University and other universities as well in Europe, sharing his experience and knowledge in sustainability and AI. Now, would you like to share more about your experience, Mark, for our audience?
Yeah, for sure. So currently, I'm a researcher, a PhD level researcher, finishing my PhD now between Stanford University in the US and CTU in Prague, Czech University. And here I'm co-founder of the LIMES Lab, so the Laboratory of Intelligence Mobility and Energy Systems for Sustainability. And that's exactly what we're focusing on. So we're looking at these two intertwined industries that are energy and mobility, and together, I'm
Hmm.
not sure if you guys know, but they contribute to about 75, so three quarters, 75% of the world greenhouse gas emissions. So um, my story is that after graduating from CTU actually and from Cambridge in the UK, I took some time to found a couple startups and be active in industry, and I've been very privileged to be successful at that, and we've built some great companies. But I wanted to spend a couple more years of my young adulthood and of my productive life to really give back and contribute to society, or at least be motivated not just by commercial means, but also be motivated by something I felt to be socially, you know, positive. And so I decided that a good place to do that might be academia, and I'm very, very happy with my choice. So I went back with this kind of question. Like, I was a software engineer. I was working on autonomous systems in my last startup that I co-founded. I was working on AI that detected UAV, so unmanned aerial vehicles and all this kind of stuff. How can I apply this on some of the most pressing issues of today, including climate change and sustainability? And I saw this graph, right, that I told you about, that three quarters of the global emissions are attributed to energy and mobility. So I decided to study that, and that brought me to back to CTU. It brought me to Stanford to my great supervisor there, Professor Rajagopal, and we started studying all these different subtopics that are in there. How do we apply these novel technologies, novel algorithms that are now so accessible, be it on optimization problems, on forecasting, on modeling, on these little sub problems, right? How do
Yeah.
electric vehicles behave? How do we optimize their charging? How do we optimize the power flow in the networks? And there's so many hidden gems. And again,
Mhm.
I'm super happy to be in this space. And it brought me last year to actually try and combine this academic path that I've taken with my entrepreneurial side. And I founded this Limes Lab, which at a doctoral stage is very unheard of, I dare say. And I'm trying to connect, Silicon Valley and and Stanford, where the cutting edge AI research is being done. With CTU in Prague, where I dare say we're very strong at the energy side, and it's been such a blessing, and it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm looking forward to contributing more to this AI energy sustainability space in the coming years.
Wow, thanks, Mark. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, very exciting. Yeah, very exciting to have you. I love your journey and what you're doing with a purpose, with a deep purpose. That's yeah, to try to change a little bit the world. We're in, and you're in the two biggest topic, like AI is changing the world and sustainability. We need to change the world through sustainability. So it's big topics. Thanks for having people like you, yeah, working on these and trying to make the world move forward on these kind of topics. That's amazing, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like an infinite cycle. The AI came, then we need to think
Yeah.
about energy, environment, sustainability. It's a chain. Every single
Yeah.
chain part is connected to the other, and it reflects on the other as well. That takes us to our first discussion point with you, Mark. I would like to ask you, how do you think the AI or artificial intelligence plays a pivotal role in the global environmental challenges? How it can work, how it can support either to define those challenges or even to find some solutions for these challenges?
Yeah, the applications and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a big question that that I'm studying, that a lot of people across the world are studying, and because AI really is a mixed blessing in this sense, right? It is a source of many challenges, especially the AI that you hear about in the news, right? Large language models. It always,
Mm.
or not always, but sometimes it comes with the subtitle or subheadline, or like, oh, it's consuming all this energy, and that's increasing, right? With newer, bigger models and more people using AI every day, there is more demand for power, and it's
Mm.
expected to, if we lump it with the rest of computer use that we're using now, like with cloud and search and whatever, it's expected to, that the global share of energy is attributed to data centers. It's expected to rise from 5% to about 20% in 10 to 15 years. So it's a large increase. It's a rapid pace, and that's an issue, right? Because it's a clash of worlds when you think about it. AI, we've known about AI. We've thought about AI for maybe since the 60s, but it really got a big start in the past 2 decades, maybe, because
Yeah.
we've had enough computational power to actually run those crazy architectures that our predecessors have thought up. So it's a very 21st century thing. While the energy grids, they have been mostly built in
Yeah.
the 19th and 20th and early 20th century. Like it's we've had them for a while, and they've been designed in, with the 20th century in mind, really, right? It's like you have stable production, you have stable consumption, you know when the peaks are, and so everything, it's also very hardware oriented, right? So
Yeah.
everything kind of
Totally.
is very
Yeah.
expensive, takes time to set up. It's a regulated industry. Everything is like slow and sluggish. So it's a huge culture clash, as well
Yeah.
as technology clash
Yeah.
between AI and energy. And I think we're going to see more and more of that, especially in the US, where a lot of these data centers are, and the grid is actually in not its best shape compared to, for example, Europe or some parts of Asia. Um, and so it's creating lots of challenges that are being tackled in crazy wild ways. Honestly, you have now tech companies that have, deep pockets, that are investing in endeavors that just a couple of years ago would be seen as outrageously risky in just purely the energy context,
Mm.
including small and modular nuclear reactors, or the restart of some older decommissioned nuclear power plants, including 3 Mile Island in the US, right? That's basically the US equivalent of Fukushima or Chernobyl, the biggest meltdown in US history. Luckily, there weren't any major casualties, but still, it's a huge thing that Microsoft is investing to restart that power plant. Nobody expected that. So that's huge. There's huge moves on the energy front. And
Yeah.
then another opportunity uh, that AI is coming or bringing with itself is to optimize the resources that we really already have, right? So, of course, having deep pockets and actually starting to expand and rebuild the infrastructure that we have is great, but that will take time. So, how can we use AI to actually optimize what we already have? And that's also crucial because it kind of intersects with the time right now is the time of the green transition. We're trying to decarbonize, not just because it's good for the planet, but also because it's just cheaper. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of investment into solar, into wind, and it's just objectively the cheapest source of energy that any country has. And of course, the closer you are to the equator, the more energy you get out of it. It's crazy. It's a crazy good deal. But it comes with downsides, and that is the unpredictability. So, like, when do you actually get the power does not align with when you actually need it. So, in the past, you need more power, you burn more coal. You need less power, you burn less. It was very easy for the grid to be balanced. Now it's a little bit more complicated, and that's where AI algorithms can come in, help
Uh,
us predict, help
yeah.
us control a
It's-
little bit better. And that's what we're working on. And I'm excited. It's more complicated, but I'm excited that we will be able to get the
Yeah.
solutions soon.
We were working on that with on prediction and when like big machines will break and all that. So that's where also AI can help predict it. But I want to grab on something you said, like I think on the human side, how like the challenge of making also people that are working on electricity grid, as you were saying, it's a very old industry with old, I would say, ways of working or methodologies, and now the AI, which like the new trend on even on project management, like
Yeah.
it's a world that works totally differently. Like how do you see like this challenge to make these two words be able to work together with all different work environment and work methodologies like because I know like software went fast, but even now with AI, the way people work in AI is totally different than people work in grid. So how do you see, that coming?
Yeah, and that's where I'm tapping into my entrepreneurial days, where I've encountered, and your experience I'm sure is going to be similar, that people don't really care about AI, right? Like they care about their problems, right? Like they care that the tool that they're using works. So if we supply, for example, the forecasting, right? It's
Yeah,
one application that we're using our novel algorithms on, right? Neural network based, machine learning based and but forecasting has been in the energy industry or power engineering industry for years. It's just not functioned very well, and power engineering people have become less and less satisfied with the forecasting tools they had because of what I described, the unpredictability that is increasing. And so we come to them essentially saying, yeah, this is based on AI, but they don't need to care much. What they care about is like we show up and we say, look, we've developed this tool and you can use it, and we are confident that the accuracy of the forecast that you're using, which is directly tied to the cost of maintaining the grid, are going to be the accuracy is going to be higher, the costs are going to be lower, and that's what they care about, right? So they are much more open to say, okay, let's test it on our internal data, let's evaluate, let's adjust, and
yeah,
that's our foot in the door, oftentimes, right? It's not necessarily the AI stuff, which is, of course, always good to get some hype, potentially get some funding.
Yeah.
But what the power grids or any customers really care about is, does it work? Does it solve my problem? And my job, as just as much as any entrepreneurs, I guess, is to make sure that we provide that solution that is
yeah.
the best.
And reply to that point, yeah. And on the how can you like how AI specifically, like we talked about on climate action, like reducing carbon emission, energy efficiency, like
Mhm.
what how can, like maybe with some few examples, like how can AI really solve that? You already said about it, like in predictability, but for example, like how to reduce carbon emission, how can how can we imagine AI will solve this and
Yeah.
to more efficient in energy, which
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would maybe deconstruct it into two ways. One is we talked about a big chunk of energy coming out of AI, and I think that's worth addressing as well. I'm confident that that will go down as well, as you've heard about DeepSeek,
Yeah.
R1, and now from Stanford, we also got a new model called S1 that was only trained on about $50 worth of compute. So with the same amount of AI capability, which I think, there is definitely a limit to a useful AI and also a
Yeah.
limit to which we can train. We will see the same level of capability go down, not just in cost, but also in terms of energy intensity.
Um,
So I'm very confident that the tools will become more energy manageable. And then as to the problems in the power grids that we can tackle with AI algorithms, that's going to be different AI than the large language models. The models that we do, it can be when it's for example, optimization algorithms. Some of the AI is not even machine learning based, so it's super lean, very low energy intense. Or even the machine learning models that we create custom in a custom way are not nearly as big as these large language models, and they have a huge impact, right? So that's what makes me happy and allows me to sleep well at
yeah.
night. And the actual use cases that we use are helping grid operators control the grid better. So making sure that they can minimize the cost of the energy transition, essentially by minimizing the imbalance of the grid at any given moment. And of course, helping them not exceed the laws of physics, which, if you do that, you get a blackout. So that's very, very important. So there's also this benefit to the customers. What we help them forecast in terms of, where will you get how much power from generation, but also where will you get consumption at different points, which is also becoming more and more complex to forecast because of smart grids and all these new technologies. And we also help them model the expansion of the grid. There's a lot of new technologies that are becoming more and more relevant, and they affect the grid more and more. On the consumption side, it mostly concerns with electric mobility, coming back to mobility, because you have all this energy that we use to move around, especially, in the US and Middle East, and where people just, they use cars, right? And
Yeah.
if they use cars right now, the fact of the matter is they are using a ton of energy that's stored in the petrol, right, in the oil and the gas,
Yeah.
and they're basically running on explosions. Now, if they switch to an EV, that's of course great for the planet already, but you will need to get that electric power to them from
Yeah.
the power facility, right, through the
From
power
the
lines.
grid. Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to assure that we know where those charging points need to be, if that there's enough capacity in the cables, in the charging points, in the transmission, in the transformers that are nearby. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's what we've done, for example, in the latest publication that we've had. We were modeling where the EV chargers will behave how based on where they are. If they're close to the airport, it will be like this. If they're close to a
Yeah.
power plant, it will be like this. If they're close to a park, it will be like this. And yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of new insights that nobody
And
has
it's
had
so big that
before.
like even if you're able in your research and all that on some stuff on the future, even if you're able like on the full energy like gain 1% or 2%, it's huge. Like the impact is huge. Like with just a minimal change or shift on the energy efficiency. I know like especially on the power grid, if we improve like 1% or very, the impact is way huge on what it can do to the planet. Yeah.
Exactly, and it enables the number of renewables that you're using at any given point, right? Which is decarbonizing by definition, and you're lowering the cost as well, right? Let's not forget the economic
Yeah.
incentive, right? If we lower the cost of energy, everybody benefits, right? Like you have more cost competitive industry in that country. You have cheaper power bills, which have been shown to excessively impact those that are worse off, right? And you have this energy poverty, especially in colder climates, right, where people will not be able to survive if they didn't have the energy needed to keep their houses warm. So there's a
Yeah.
huge positive impact on making this work
Yeah.
with renewables because you get a lower energy bill.
Yeah. I think I'll take from the same words you've shared regarding the use cases, and that's part of the challenging to understand how AI is impacting our life, especially for non-technical people or non-AI related people. Would you express more or explore more for us or for the audience how the AI can really impact our life in terms of in a practical way, not just theoretical way or research for research purposes, but on ground, how the AI can add value to for more sustainability, impacting energy, mobility, any kind of implementations of the AI that really reflects on our daily life as public people, non AI, non technical people.
For sure. And there's so many things, right? Number one, I've already mentioned, right? Lower energy bills. I think everyone wins, right? Like if you want to cook your food, I don't know if you guys like eating food, but I do that every day. Would recommend. So if you can do that more cost efficiently, you're probably going to be very happy. And again, the poorer you
Mm,
are, the bigger the chunk of your budget you have to spend on the necessities
yeah.
like cooking or heating your house or whatever. So that's going to be a huge benefit. And that's the application of what I'm researching, right? I'm helping the power grids function in a more lean and efficient way with the infrastructure that's already there. Now, with the more broader sense of AI that is more commercial, less research heavy that I'm doing, we will see more and more AI powered apps, I would imagine, that are in the energy space, helping people, actually decarbonize on an individual level. So if you're,
Mhm.
in middle class anywhere in the world, you might think about, if installing a solar cell on the on the roof of your house, you will get
Mhm.
probably something very soon that is akin to a private helper that will already give you recommendations like, is your roof suitable for solar power? What do you need to do in your country to actually have it installed? How much will it cost? How soon can you expect to get the money back? And then there's more
Yeah.
solutions that are tied to that. Should you get a battery a wall box with it that has some capacity to perhaps store the energy when you're not using it, which is usually in the middle of the day, and then give it back to you when you actually need it, which is when you come from work in the evening. So there's going to be applications like this that, again, I don't think people will actually care if it's AI or not. What they
Yeah,
will care about is it solves their
the
issue,
user
right? They
itself. Yeah,
will, yeah, they want to save on energy bills. They want to, maybe be more sustainable in their living. Uh, Whatever the reason, I am confident that with both AI's capability of being able to reason and kind of orient itself in unstructured data, which is really the groundbreaking thing about AI that people are so fascinated with, and also with the conversions of the renewables becoming so cheap that they're basically the cheapest form of electricity, and you can even invest in that on an individual level in private residences. That's hopefully going to inspire a renaissance of these distributed networks that will save people's energy bills.
yeah. It's you're right. Like, and that was also a question we had, like on the solar energy, even in your homes, like to get the sun to manage it with the batteries and all that inside, like on the user and your user focus, like he will use, like as you were saying, like a software and let's say an app to manage all that, and behind that will be the AI that will predict like the weather, and maybe your solar panel will turn this way or this way because there's sun, when does the sun comes up, when it comes down, and all that it's on predictive models. So it's kind of modeled, and then it will learn more and more how your behaviors inside, and the human will not, the user doesn't even have to think about it. It will
Oh, of course.
automatically
Yeah.
like set up like how the behaviors, when do you launch your laundries, like when do you do your dishes and use this energy, and when he learns on your behavior, that's where you'll be, the AI will be, yes, is embedded in that, and will make gain also, yeah, like with no efforts, and it will have an impact at the
Makes
energy
sense.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it should just work, right? Like
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
yeah, that's what we
press
want.
the
That's what we
power,
use.
Yeah, when you press the light switch, you just expect the light to come on. You don't want to think about the power that's coming through the
No,
wires or the light bulb. No, it should just work. And the
that's
same is with this, what you described is essentially a term called flexibility, where again, you move the power demand or supply based on when it's the most suitable in time within that day or, a different period. And that's already products that exist, right? Again, it's AI, but people don't need to care that it's AI. And
Yeah,
in Europe, you have, thanks to your renewables, or maybe unfortunately because of your renewables, but you have this interesting phenomenon where you have extreme differences of energy price during the day, where sometimes in the middle of the day you might even have negative energy prices, while in the evening you might have a very, very expensive power price, which is
mm,
obviously a huge opportunity to anyone with a battery, where you basically during the day you can
for
buy energy and get
yeah,
paid for it, and then in
yeah,
the evening you get the same energy and you sell it
you
for
stored it.
like a big profit, right? There's this arbitrage, and this is already being used by some households, for example in the Czech Republic where I'm residing, and people are making a modest amount. It's not like a huge amount, but they're making like 100 or 200 bucks a month by just having a battery pack and a solar roof and just sitting there, right? So it helps them pay off their investment way sooner than they expected. It's a nice pocket money, and they're helping the grid as well, helping
Yeah.
decarbonize. So it's a win-win-win.
And we know it, like on the entrepreneur business mindset, we know that to be adopted, all the solution has to be very easy for and transparent for the users. And that's one
yeah,
of the yeah, what that's one of the challenge. Like right now, if it's a hustle to use it, like to where's the solar panel,
Yeah.
like where's my energy, like if AI enables all that, it will be used by a lot more of people because it will be easy to use.
And of course, if it makes them a buck or two, it certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah, on the top of that, if you make money,
yeah.
that's that's the better part. I don't know better part.
No,
uh,
I think I might add here as well. This always like running cycle between the growth of technology or AI specifically and the demand and need for the energy. This will not stop, even with all the optimization we currently got and have with DeepSeek, with whatever new models are getting there. I guess that the development and the progress in terms of the AI optimization or the AI even embedding in multiple aspects of our life, it will keep growing and even not growing, actually, it's accelerating. That's why the demand of energy always will grow. And that's one of the topics we got from an expert was the demand on the AI or the investments in the AI and building new data centers. It's nothing with all the due respect of all these billions of dollars compared to the energy investments will be required to satisfy the needs of the energy. So I
Yeah,
think
I
this
mean,
won't
it's
stop.
yeah. Sorry, what was the last part?
This won't stop. Always will need the energy, even with all the optimization and like having in integrating the individuals to start generate energy by solar panels or solar cells. This will solve big problem, not only relying on the big stations and the platforms across multiple spots of governments who builds and invest in these areas, but as well us as individuals can be part of the solution.
For sure, for sure. And as you're saying, it comes down to economics at the end of the day. And with
Yes.
renewables being as cheap as they are, what you have when you have a new data center, you also need to get the permits to like connect to the grid, etc. And what is being done is that in the price of a new data center, usually the companies already count with having an on-premise um, solar installation, maybe a smaller wind
Yeah.
installation, and it doesn't have to be on the roof of the data center. It might be a field over or across the
Yeah.
road or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
going to be directly connected. It's going to lower their bills. They usually nowadays also install like a big enough power pack. It's not just to lower their energy bills and to lower uh, the throughput of the connection to the grid, which is essentially what you pay for the DSOs and the TSOs, but also to create this redundancy where if
Yeah.
there's a blackout in the area, of course it sucks for everyone. Like if you want to do whatever, you need power, right? Like I have the light, I have the internet. If the power goes out, I'm gone. But for a data center that is being accessed by all these different people across the planet, it's even more important. So they will want this solution also as a backup solution where when the grid fails for whatever reason, which even like in many areas of the US, that's several times a year, right? So that's very, very crucial to have some backup solution for at least a couple of
Yeah.
hours. And
Yeah.
so I am erring to the side of caution, but at the same time, I remain optimistic that this kind of AI boom, since it's so intertwined with the energy demand, and these
Mhm.
companies know it, and they're trying to get experts like me to work for them to help them understand and work with it intelligently,
Yeah.
is that this investment that it was needed in the power grids anyways, AI or no AI, and it was kind of being neglected by the governments because it just still kept working somehow.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic that this kind of surge of interest in the AI space, where there is a lot of money, will lead inevitably in the to the reconstruction or renovation of the power grids, which I'm happy about. Right, it means a lower cost and better service to everyone in US and Europe and in other parts of the world. You know, Asia, Africa,
Interesting.
South America, you
Yeah.
name it.
Makes sense. Make total sense. So, but based on that, what do you think could be the primary obstacles or challenges to adopt the AI in sustainability? And how do you think this could be overcome?
Yeah, I think we mentioned this in the beginning. There's definitely I think Elon Musk called it a vibe shift, right? Away from sustainability, especially in the US now, where the new administration is calling into question a lot of the commitments that US has made. So there's definitely going to be some cultural blocker in terms of who's what people are even interested in sustainability. And that's why at the end of the day, I keep coming back to the economics of it, right? Like it
Mm,
doesn't matter if you're pro, green solutions or anti-green solutions. Like if it's cheaper, you're probably going to get that, right? There's not that many people that are going to say like, "Oh, I really want my power to come from a coal power plant." Like doesn't
mhm.
really that doesn't really happen that much. So our job is to make it so cost efficient that it's just it's a no-brainer. And yeah, in terms of what I'm working on, there's definitely challenges in getting the stakeholders to actually engage with what we're researching, right? We've had great partners so far, but there's plenty of stakeholders in the energy space that are, to an extent, legacy providers. They've been doing this one thing, this one way for decades, really, and there is a fear of sharing their data. There's a fear of trying new things sometimes, so we have to work with that. But so far, so good. I would say we've had, decent success with getting to the people that actually matter, to the distribution systems operators, transmission systems operators. Again, not just because it's AI and it's cool, but mostly because we're coming with the proposition like, hey, we have this new system. It does use AI, but the main thing is it can save you time and money, and that's what they hear, and that's what they like, and that's what that's a promise that we have to deliver on, essentially.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's and I'm getting a little bit back like on the, because the big topic, as you were saying, like the energy in the data centers, infrastructures, we
Mm,
tackled it a little bit, but I know like it's very hardware, and they have to put as more power as possible, in these same racks on the energy. The grid is coming back in. There's a lot of hardware. How do you how do you see like AI plays a role in these hardware systems? Do you think it's powerful enough to be able to manage that energy saving, or put more power in these same racks for the data infrastructures? Like, did you work on it?
For sure, yeah. This there's only so much that you can do, right? Like we have to work with the limitations of the physical grid. Again, if you can break the written law in your country, and maybe someone will find out about your crime, maybe not. But if you break the laws of physics, then you get into like real trouble. And in the area of power engineering, we're dealing with the laws of physics a lot, all the time, and there is a real risk that if you allow a system that is now pretty much all computerized, and it's all being operated pretty much
Yeah.
live on the edge via computers, because nobody has enough time and bandwidth to operate everything live. If a computer makes a wrong decision, you will run into trouble. You will fry a transformer that has cost however many millions of dollars or euros to install. You will have a blackout in that area, and it's all sorts of trouble. So that's what we need to, with these algorithms, that's what we need
Yeah.
to prevent. That's how we try to improve the current systems. And essentially what we're trying to do is anticipate these issues and help both running on the edge, so running live, like how do we find different paths to the power flow that is needed? How do we decide when to connect or disconnect different sources? We're also thinking about the economics. How do we create the incentives so that different sources of demand or supply are being plugged in at the right time when it's actually beneficial to the grid? So that and also there's also resiliency, right? There are some
Mm.
events that are um, not well, impossible to anticipate. Like you have a blackout because there was a huge solar flare, which there are some ways of anticipating it, but it's not trivial. Or you might have just an unscheduled like breakdown of a transformer. That those will have like big impacts, and you need to react to them quickly and restore power as soon as possible, because again, everyone is like our modern lives are just like super dependent on power.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do as well with these algorithms.
And do you think like it's more some AI in the embedded softwares in the hardware, or like more like just managing, reporting, analyzing like on the external part, like just very quickly, like just to understand a bit more?
Yeah, usually the power grids nowadays are centralized, so you have these centers that are basically controlling how the system works. There's also the training floor. Energy is a utility, so you constantly have hundreds to thousands or even tens of thousands of subjects that are trying to like buy and sell energy in ahead of time. Maybe there's a day ahead trade, there's like a long term trade and power purchase agreements, and there's also the spot trade, right, where right now people are trading like, oh, I'm going to buy this much power for this much, and it's a very complex system. But especially in those times of crisis, you can see that it's a system that was designed a long, long time ago. Like I was talking to a, a distribution systems operator in Prague recently, and they told me that if a blackout were to happen, like a citywide blackout,
Yeah.
they would actually need to send out a person to restart some of the transformers manually, because there is no remote switch to like reset them and turn them back on, which even during a normal day it might be difficult, because there's of course traffic jams and everything. But like if you imagine there's a blackout, like all hell will probably
Right.
break
Yeah.
loose. People will start panicking. They will
Panic.
start
Yeah.
driving around. There's going to be all sorts of collapse. So I would,
Like
we
in the
were even
movie.
telling them one of the contingency measures could be like, of course, apart from installing a remote control, like would be, just get like some bikes or motorbikes so you can drive through the traffic, because like basically what they have is just cars, and they will be useless in this collapse type of situation.
Yeah.
So sometimes brings us to very offline solutions that we're
Okay.
proposing as well, because you just need to get the job done, and you need to assure that even in these extreme scenarios you are able to get the ball going again. Really, again, every single second of our lives we're super dependent on energy. So the number one
Yeah.
the number one rule in energy that we're trying to follow is that the energy needs to keep flowing to where it's being consumed, right? Again, when you flip the light switch, the light needs to come on that instant. If it doesn't,
It's
you're in
a
trouble.
it's a convenience. Yeah, we all need to learn back how to do fire. Like, well, it's just a switch.
Yeah, I think we're all too comfortable for that.
Yeah. We are.
We're doing that for leisure, on camping
Yeah.
trips, and imagine,
It must not be. It must be for we start to.
yeah.
I think always when we talk about AI, and even our clients ask us this question, the ethical part of AI, but for the sustainability area, how do you think we might be able to ensure the AI powered sustainability solutions are fair and work equally to all the population or communities, without harming or getting a benefit from some people against others?
Yeah, that's a great question. And at the end of the day, there's two sides of the coin, right? One is, I ideally what we're trying to do is increase efficiency, and through sheer market forces, if a system is more efficient, it should economically lead to lower prices, so that should benefit everyone. At the same time, those that are less fortunate in their economic means are going to bear most of the fruit of that, because energy is a necessity, so it's going to be a larger chunk of their spend. um, so that's nice to say, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have to work like that, right? Sometimes you have localized savings that are benefiting areas that are already well connected, and those are usually the more economically active parts of a continent or a country or whatever. And so oftentimes how we try to think about it, and in research, it's very easy for us to think like this, because our whole goal is to help humanity become better and have more knowledge about different problems. So we do a lot of assessments in terms of not just efficiency and economic viability, but also equity, right? How do we make equitable solutions? And
Mhm.
there are ways that you can do that, right? You are optimizing for different things, right? You're not then you're not just optimizing for either physical efficiency or economic efficiency, but also you can make some sort of measure of equitable efficiency, where some of my colleagues, for example, have looked at how do you incorporate the average income of different communities in a city, let's say, into the dynamic pricing, right? Or and into the design of the grid, right? So that you can serve
Wow.
those communities that are
Mhm.
underprivileged in their economic means
Yeah.
with like cheaper power.
Sure, and you manage that, yeah, regarding
Yeah.
a lot of different data points or
Yeah. So
information.
so so there's it comes
Yeah,
back to the design of how you think about the setup of the whole system, not just the AI system, but also the economic incentives
yeah,
and
the
the power
business
system.
model of the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
also because yeah.
And that's where I have to, just full disclosure, I think that's where there's a big difference between the science and the actual practice. Where in the science, we can do that basically in one go, and we can do an experiment like, how do we kind of balance these two objectives? And, there's always some sort of trade off, right? You either maximize efficiency or you maximize equity. It's two different things.
Yeah.
But in practice, in the real world, where it's being done by commercial means, that's very different, right? You have companies that are maximizing profit. So while it might make sense to give some attention to the worse off neighborhoods that aren't as economically active as others, most of the economic activity and the development is going to be concentrated in areas of higher income, higher wealth. Um, and then we try to catch up through either governmental incentives or through NGO work, but that's an imperfect solution. But I just wanted to kind of acknowledge in the real world, unfortunately, there's definitely a tendency to first prioritize the economics, and then equity comes further down the ladder. But that's just how it is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yes.
you said some stuff, but like, what's your, like, if you like no limits, or you're on the stuff you're in, like, what's for you like the future trends in your area, like seeing, like, yeah, see the few, yeah, future trends.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think I'm definitely more focused on the sustainability part of things, and the key for that is a term that we touched on lightly, and that's flexibility. Basically, with the decarbonization of the power grid, um, there's a couple of things that we need to overcome, and I always remember to one of the lectures that my favorite Stanford lecturer held, Stephen Chu. He's a Nobel laureate. I encourage you to look him up. He's a great person, very approachable. But he said he used to be the head of the Department of Energy in the U.S. Under the Obama administration, and he said, like, when he was finishing his studies, um, it looked really really hopeless because the world already knew about climate change. They already knew what to do, how to do that. They needed to decarbonize the grid. But back then, in the 90s and the not and the noughties, they they the renewables were already there, but they were hopelessly expensive, way more expensive than any fossil fuels. But and then he ended like, well, now I'm jealous of you guys because that is a challenge that humanity had that is completely solved right now. Renewables are the cheapest source of energy, and it's really almost a no-brainer. What we have as a challenge in power grids now is the flexibility, because renewables are great. They're already very cheap to install, to develop, but they are variable, right? You only get sun during the day, and
Non-linear,
you
yeah,
yeah, and wind, of course,
yeah.
is to an
Depending
extent
on the
also.
weather, yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it also is connected to the sun to an extent because the more
Mother
power
Nature.
from yeah, exactly. And basically you need to make sure that you always have enough supply for the demand, and it's always equal, and that's becoming harder and harder, and not just during the day that we mentioned, but especially so between the seasons, right? At least for the developed world, right, which is mostly in the
That's
global north. And it doesn't matter if you're, China or the US or Europe. It's just always like you have a more higher power intensity in the winter because you have to heat buildings, and with the renewables, unfortunately, you have more production in the summer because of the sun.
where you need
And
less
so
energy.
so one yeah and so one thing is moving the production or the supply from the day to like the peaks in the morning and evening, but another thing is moving all this huge amount of energy from the summer into the winter. Right now we're doing that with gas, right? Like we're filling up our like natural gas
Yeah,
supply, or
right.
natural gas reserves during the summer so that we could burn through it in the winter. That's what most countries do to heat up the homes, and we need to figure that out to do with energy. And what can help us with that is our flexible is flexible consumption, where we can move not just within the day but maybe between like seasons when
Mm.
we actually have the demand, which for heating, we mostly need that in the winter. But for example, even in the winter, we don't really care if the heater is on in the middle of the night or in the morning or in the day. What we care about is that the building that we're in is heated up to a certain temperature, so you can shift it between that. And one solution to that might be hydrogen. That's where the EU
Like,
and to an extent the US are investing a lot of money into. I would say a very interesting case could be made that batteries might do the job well. I had just a very thoughtful conversation with my colleague now on that very topic, where if we have new chemistries, and I'm not a chemist, so I'm not an expert, but nowadays there's a lot of talk about sodium-based batteries that have worse characteristics, physical characteristics than lithium-ion
Yeah,
batteries.
because there's the
However,
issue of like the actual batteries, the
yeah,
pollution of the actual batteries, even in the EV. That's a big thing. So is this is so yeah.
that's right. And the key thing here again is cost, right? If even if sodium batteries are twice worse or two times as bad in their physical properties as lithium ion batteries, if they are 100 or 1,000 times cheaper, then everyone will build huge stacks of capacity of these types of batteries, and it might actually provide a big chunk of the solution for this flexibility challenge of like how to get energy from the summer to the winter. So it's it's a big challenge.
Yeah,
It remains unsolved. I'm definitely not telling you that I've just solved it in this
yeah. But like there's
short
the question, like the
response.
trend, like where we need to go,
Yeah,
or like a thing we need
for
to do.
sure.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
good news, we've already solved one challenge in terms of cost. The renewables are really, really
yeah.
cheap
Know
now.
that. Yeah,
And the second good piece of good news is even for batteries and for hydrogen, there's a ton of development that is being done on the, all the way from chemistry through the actual products to the optimization through AI, maybe. So I'm very confident that there will be more and more cost-effective solutions coming up every year. So definitely a lot of reasons to be optimistic.
Interesting. I think we need just to remind our audience who watch the live, if you do have any questions, please post it. We might take some of them at the end. We're very close. But let's move to the most important thing. And I think this could be one of the takeaways of this conversation from with you, Mark. What advice do you think you might share for businesses who would like to and looking to incorporate AI into their sustainability strategies?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend trying to find public-private partnerships, be it with, of course, there's a lot of governmental support and sustainability, and you can apply um, a lot of these grants onto AI-based solutions, and AI-based solutions have the big advantage of generally being, also cost effective and can help your business efficiently. And also, I would recommend, of course, coming from a very biased source, finding research labs that are on the top of the game. At the end of the day, AI is a complex set of topics.
Yeah,
It's very hard to orient yourself in it, especially if you're a company that isn't in the space. You might also be from a legacy industry, be it construction, be it it might be could be hospitality or all these
yeah,
industries that are great, but they're not exactly well known and for like embracing cutting edge technology. There's no shame in approaching your local or even global centers of excellence in terms of AI and sustainability. My lab, Lime's lab at CTU, or the S3L lab that I'm part of at Stanford, we're always open to getting new partners, and we can help you design the right strategy. Um, because essentially what happens a lot is that these companies, the industries, they approach consultancy companies, and there's it's not necessarily bad, right? These consultancies, they've seen a lot of different companies, they can provide you with some sort of solution, but it's very, 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 very expensive for what they actually do, and
yeah.
it can be very vague, right?
Right.
Because when anyone who's been in a consultancy, myself included, knows that a lot of the work is being done by fresh graduates, and they just have a ton of slides that
Yeah.
they source their information from. So the level of depth that you can have in terms of understanding of that topic is really limited outside of the
Yeah,
general
and
scope
also
of
the
consulting.
actionable plans, the real actionable plans are limited. Like you pay
Yeah,
extra,
es-
but yeah, you're right.
yeah,
especially outside of their core domain expertise, which is right, like something like due diligence or financial decisions or like really management consulting. If you go like really deep, like sustainable and AI, they will just inevitably make stuff up. So going to research labs, especially those that have a good track record with industry collaborations, they understand what industry is looking at, looking after what is important for them, how they work, can really bear a lot of fruit. And we've had some great experiences in the past where we've actually been very competitive, and we've helped some companies save millions of dollars off their spend for like really big expensive products that they didn't even understand, right? And we've helped them create a solution that worked better for them. They didn't have to pay millions of dollars for them. It was just like they paid for the collaboration with us, which was much less, and it was like a one-time thing. We helped them understand what was important for them. We helped them develop an internal solution that they then internally kind of maintained and understood well. And it's and it was basically almost like a one-time thing, right? They made an investment to work with us. We helped them get to a new modus operandi, and then only if they want to improve on that or iterate, they come back to us again, and we do a new project. So I would definitely say that collaborating with with the research labs is a
Specialized,
great
yeah,
idea.
specialized part, yeah, lab like yours. We welcome everyone to
Of
reach out to
course.
you. All right.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very insightful. Thank you so much, Mark, for these valuable insights you shared with us. I learned a lot. There are a lot of details you shared. That even it's an eye opener for a lot of things AI can be implemented in the sustainability area across multiple spots, even the US, in Europe, in the Middle East, or even Asia. But I think a lot of things can be done in that area. And thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. And it's very various. Like it's just the beginning, and it can tackle, as you were saying, the flexibility, the hardware, software, like the sun, the local things. So you have this merge. So you have a lot of work, I think, Mark, ongoing.
That's right. I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm not alone.
Yeah, you're in the AI and sustainability. That's crazy. Both things are required now. All the people are talking about energy, sustainability, AI, growth across multiple aspects in the
Yeah,
business. I think you're in the right spot. Can you get ready? A lot of things are coming.
yeah,
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun. And of
Thank you, Mark.
course, if anyone wants to get in touch on LinkedIn or via email, find me and I'll be happy to chat.
yeah.
My email
Reach
is
out.
name.lastname at cvut.cz or stanford.edu.
Yeah, great. Reach out, Mark, and if you have people like want to, or I'll redirect them to you, and yeah, just to learn more. And great, thanks, thanks a lot, Mark.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank,
you,
Thank
guys.
you.
thank you.